Hi everyone, it's Bernie here. A few people have asked me to go over the envelope that I make when we've done DigiChicks. I usually make an envelope. I don't make normal standard cards. I buck the system a little bit. I make a card how I want it to look, and then I work out, well, what am I going to do with an envelope after that? Some people use standard cards and envelopes, so this technique may not work for them or may not matter. But like I said, this card here is 5 inches by 7. So yes, it's a standard side card, but to get an envelope, and it's got some dimensions on it, so it raises a little bit. So I always make my own envelopes. These papers I got from a craft shop, and they were something like 20 for $1. They were like 20 cents each Australian. Some of them, I don't particularly like. I can't ever imagine me using this side of the paper, and I don't mind using these for envelopes. So what I do is I'll find a piece of paper that potentially I might not like or might match the card and go from there. I don't go out and buy paper specially for my envelopes, but I ended up buying a stack of that when it was on special, and I ended up getting about that much of paper. So I've got quite a bit of paper for envelopes for a very long time. When you're trying to make an envelope, we just have to remember the dimensions. As I said, this is 5 by 7. Just totally ignore that. It's the dimensions from here to here. Now, this card, even though it's a portrait card, the envelope will end up being that way. So you wouldn't normally post an envelope that way. You can if you want, or if you're giving it to someone. So it'll end up being that way. So what we need to do is measure the diagonal of the card. So I'm doing this in inches. I find working in craft, even though Australia's metric, I used to do quilting, which was all in imperial measurements, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. I'm very used to working in that, and that's how I tend to do my craft. So as you can see, this from corner to corner, it's telling me that it's 8.5 inches. So if you just remember 8.5 inches plus 1 inch. So I know that I need to cut my paper square. Forget that this is a rectangle shape. What we want is a 9.5 inch square piece of paper. So I'm using this paper today, and I'm going to cut it to make it 9.5 inches. So I'm just lining it up on the 9.5 inches mark there and there. So I now have a 9.5 inch square piece of card, 9.5 inches by 9.5 inches. So work out which side you want. I want this to be the inside of my paper. I'm just going to line it up. Now I'm using any of these lines on my mat. Today, for no reason, I'm just going to use the 17 inch mark. So I might just put my ruler there so I know which line I'm on. I'm going to line the bottom on the 17, and just to make sure that I'm on the 17 on that one, because I lined my ruler up. So the point up there is on, I might just move my cameras out a little bit there and there. So you can see this is on 17 down here, and I know that's the 17 line. Now, just to make sure that it's diagonally also, I'm just going to look and make sure that, here and here is, so now I've got it on a line across there, a line and a line. And what I do is, you could try to work out exactly where you want to do it. I never do, I eyeball it. So what I'm trying to do is to make sure that here, 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 and here, I've got a similar amount of space. And sometimes it's easier for me to look on the camera to see if I'm actually lined up okay rather than eyeballing it. And I can see that there's a line on my mat that goes across here. I'm just going to make sure that it's basically lined up. And then what I do is I fold the top down to where the side of the card was. I fold up, turn it round, and just sort of hold the paper there and fold it up to the edge of the card. Turn it around and do the same again. And there I've got my 4 basic sides of my envelope. I'm going to take that out, and then I'm going to actually burnish those sides down when I find my bone folder, just to make them really crisp. Where you've had them, you know, previously you just hand folded them. Okay, so now I've got sort of looking like that. Now I'm going to turn this over so I can actually see these 4 triangles. They need to get cut out. It's easier for me to see on this side of the paper. I would have struggled a little bit. I would have got there, but it's easier to turn it over. And with this, I just go in a little bit, not quite on the line, just off the line a little bit that was there. Cut out the 4 triangles. So that's what it looks like now. Now, some of you be familiar, this looks now pretty much what your envelope punch board can do. I don't have an envelope punch board, so that's why I do it this way. But it's taken the 4 notches out. So there's my card, my envelope. There's my card. These are my sides, and I'm just going to make sure. So there's my 2 sides and my bottom. So what I'll do now is put some tape on these 2 sides. This is just double-sided tape. I just use these to give myself a straight edge. Same on this side. Give myself a straight edge and cut that. There's my double-sided tape, fold it up, and there's my envelope made. Okay, so, and it's got room, so because we've allowed that extra space, it's still got room if I wanted to add something into the card, some, you know, I don't know, some money or a letter. I've also got plenty of room in there for that. So there's 1. I'll do 3 today just to show you how differently they can work. Now this is a smaller card that I made. Haven't done anything with it yet, so it's got to be written on. But this, as you can see, is a much smaller card. So this one, again, this card measures 5.5 by 4.5. So I could find an envelope for it, but again, it's got some dimensions on it. I've just raised that owl up a little bit. So I'm actually going to work out what I need to do for this one. Again, from diagonal to diagonal is 7. 7 inches is from diagonal to diagonal. So again, adding the inch, I need to cut this piece of paper, oops, 8 by 8. So if we go 8 here and 8 here, I've now got an 8 by 8 inch square of paper. Again, I will put my ruler on my 17 line because it's in front of me. And I've got, there's my 17 down here and 17 there. Just take the ruler away and put my card in the middle, roughly, where I think is a good place to be. Again, I'm looking at my screen. Yeah, it looks pretty good to me. Again, find a line that is, you know, there's a line there and a line there, so I might just make sure it's straight. Again, fold up the bottom or the top, whichever. Fold down that one, fold it in, and fold it in. So there's my just make sure that the creases are nice and sharp on all four edges. And again, I need to cut those triangles out. Now, this side is probably easier again. That was a little bit dark. I can see them, but it's easier on this side. Again, cut out the 4 triangles. Oops. Okay, so there's the 4 triangles cut out. Now this one, I have a corner rounder. I'm just going to put my edges of my card just for something different. I only have the 1 corner rounder. You might have something else that puts a pattern in it, you know, but I'm just taking the edges off these 4 corners. So now I've got a more rounded envelope. Again, fold those 2 in, and that one's coming up. You can see it's just given it a little bit more dimension. Again, some tape on the edge. Again, give me a straight edge just here. Okay, so we've got that down properly. So there's our bottom. There's our card, and again, got plenty of room because we've got that, and there's the envelope for that one. So there's the 2, so 2 different sizes, 2 different envelopes. For this one, you know, with such a pattern paper, that might be if you're actually handing it to someone. If not, you might have to put a sticker on there, or you know, something to address it. You probably wouldn't use a paper like that if you're putting it in the mail. Those 2. Now, the other question that I've been asked when I've been making the envelopes, what if it's not a normal shaped card? Now, this card I've started to make. I haven't got any further with it, but it's a stand-up. I know Linda's made a card like this before, and it's like a magazine rack type thing. So that's what it looks like when it's standing up. I haven't decorated, as I said, but it's a funny shaped card. So what I would do when I'm making an envelope for this card, because there's no diagonal here, I'm actually going to pretend there's a diagonal. So if I line it up here on my board, I'm going to put a pencil mark just for my own benefit. And I'm going to pretend, so following this line up and that line, so here, I'm going to pretend that's where my diagonal is. So you can see if this was that shaped card, that would be the edge of the card. So what I will do now is I'll still measure from corner to corner, and it's telling me it's an 8.5 inch. So again, pretend this is a square. So pretend there was a piece of paper and it continued on, and that's the shape of my card here. You don't have to draw on your board if you don't want to. So I'm actually measuring from here to up to here, which was 8.5. So that means I need a 9.5 inch piece of cardstock, 8.5. So for this one, I'm going to get a 9.5 inch square. You've just got to forget that it's not the right shape that you want. And then we'll go with a 9.5 inch square. And all these pieces I'll use for something else. I'll make a scrap card or something with them. So again, I'm going to go back to my 17 line because it's right in the middle for me. So there, and up there. It's a little bit bigger, so I don't need it there and there. So there's my 17. Now I'm going to put my card again as if it was a square or rectangle, whatever shape that would be. Now the only thing is just making, because you've only got 3 corners now to gauge where you are. You could put a piece of paper there, you know, behind it to see where the edge is if you wanted to. So it's probably telling me it's not centered. So I'm just using this as my guide to know how much space I've got here, 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 and up there. So that's that. And then I'll just make sure I've got it on a line, and I'll just bring it down a fraction there to make sure that this line's straight. So with all of that in mind, I'm going to bring that one up, bring it down to here as if it was, that's the edge, bring it down, turn it round, bring it up, and just to there. So I'll take my card out, burnish those sides, okay. Again, I need to cut my 4 triangles out. I'm just leaving just off the line a little bit. You can see there's the line, and I've just gone off a fraction. It just gives it a bit of a better, not catching it on the edge as it gets folded. So if you just, as long as you remember, all cards start with a square base. You don't have to worry about the shape of the card. It's, the paper is a square start. So that's, you know, remember that was a 9.5-inch square piece of card. So I might just put that and that over, and then that one, and that one will come down. Now I will corner these ones as well, just because I can. So again, I'm just putting my rounded corner in there. Okay, so we're going to go that way and then down there. Yep. So again, I'll put some tape on here and here. Now, because this one is a little bit of a different shape, it's actually crossed over. These bits have actually crossed over, so that's okay. It'll just stick, and it'll just actually stick to each other's sides. So take the tape off, and as you can see, yeah, like I said, that's stuck down, which is fine. It doesn't matter. There we go. Push the bottom up, and then we've got our very odd shaped card that will fit in there perfectly, and there it gets folded down. So even when I finish, you know, decorating this card, there's still quite a lot of space. So if I want to put, you know, lots of different things on this card, and then when I fold it flat, it'll still have, so if it's got some things on this level, all different levels, when it folds flat, it's still going to fit in, because that extra inch that we add gives the card, gives the envelope plenty of space. Okay, so there we have our 3 different envelopes. So we've got the big one that we made, the smaller one, and then the very odd shaped one, because that was our odd shaped card inside. So hopefully that helps. Again, reach out if you need any assistance when making an envelope. I'm more than happy to help, and happy crafting. Thanks, everyone.